Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So I guess we will start. My name is Mariusz. I'm co-organizing this event together with many other people. We will start by having some talks by 3 invited speakers, 2 of which will be through Skype and 1 will be local. And then we will follow with some light refreshments. And the idea for tonight is to register the teams and to start brainstorming about the ideas on which you would like to work. We would like the teams to be not more than 2 or 3 people, because it's not many of us, but we would like to have 4 or 5 teams kind of participating. That's why we make the teams smaller. But if you have a good case for a larger team, then just talk with us. Okay, so I will call the first speaker, who is Vidar Andersen. Let's see. Hi, Vidar.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Great!
All right.
They get free pizza, they're always happy with our free pizza.
Well, I'm getting to be too old, so I just look at a pizza, I add weight. So just glad I'm safe away from you guys that didn't have to eat pizza, although I'd love to right now. I'm getting hungry. Good that you're not hungry. First of all, I guess we're ready to roll. We're good to go.
That's correct. So we're ready to roll. You can.
All right.
Yep.
So first of all, thank you very much for having me here tonight. Super excited, super humbled to be able to talk to you guys about things that I think are important. First of all, hi, I'm Peter Anderson. I don't know if there was an intro or something about me. First and foremost, I'm a startup entrepreneur. I'm a Norwegian, but I've been living in Germany now since 2005. So if I were to speak in Norwegian with you guys, I would probably sound like a very bad movie from about the Second World War. So I'll be doing this in English. Probably there's some English speaking in the audience. I don't know. Hello. Speaks no Norwegian. Okay, hei på dere, og nå går det videre på norsk. No, just kidding. We're going to stick to English. So thank you very much for having me. I'm first and foremost, I guess you could call me a startup entrepreneur. I'm also an educator when it comes to startup entrepreneurship. I'm super psyched about actually using the scientific method on entrepreneurship instead of just blah blah and bullshit. And also I have a company, because money needs to come from somewhere. I have a company that helps large Fortune 500 and organizations with doing innovation in a more scientific manner. So what on earth, you might be asking yourself, do I have to do with space and NASA? Well, on first glance, not much. But let me tell you a story about me, in which I probably also reveal my age, but that's a different topic. And I'll share a little funny fact with you guys that not so many people know about. So if we go back, I mean, it was like go back to almost to the Stone Ages, and with that I mean like the early 1980s. Anybody born in 1981? Anybody born in 1981? Oh my God, I'm that old. Okay, so I'm not that old that I got the moon landings and all of that. So I was born in 1975, and I can vividly remember just sort of being in preschool and hearing about the space shuttle and the whole space program. And I remember super vividly STS-1. That was Columbia launching in 1981. I was like, whoa, I had never ever seen anything more amazing in my whole life. I mean, it's like if Apple were to design the space shuttle or something going in the air and up to space, they wouldn't come up with something amazing. I was in love. I was super fascinated. I was like, wow, this is like out of the future. And also, I can really remember, remember this was 1981. It was like maybe on the height of the Cold War. I mean, some of you guys may not even have heard what the hell that was, but it was a real thing. I mean, back in the day, we were practicing nuclear bomb shelter drills, in school on a regular basis. You know, it was that duck and cover crazy. And the space shuttle launch for me, and the whole sort of shuttles going to space regularly in the 80s was like, wow, it's possible that humanity pulls together. It's possible that we have like bigger goals. It's possible that we can set aside like petty stuff and actually achieve insane things. And it's like, this is progress. It was like, for me, it was the image of progress. It was the image for, well, maybe that sci-fi future that we've been promised, it will actually be delivered. And also, for me, it personally, it was like a white arrow of hope in a very, very dark era. You know, like I said, we were practicing nuclear drills in school on a regular basis. It was pretty crazy times. And also, well, skip forward now to about 2001, and let me share that little funny anecdote. I found myself accidentally co-founding a content management system back in 2001, just in the ashes of the dot-com boom 1.0, because actually I had nothing better to do than to try to solve my own problem. And two of my colleagues and friends, we also had the same problem, which were, well, there were no decent content management systems on the web. Now, sort of fast forwarding even further, this content management system is called Plone. It's now, I think, 17 years old. It's one of the most in use, enterprise-grade, super secure content management systems in the world. And the funny fact is that NASA uses it. One of our famous users, is, for instance, the NASA Science Directorate. They're using it on their website. And even more famous is the Mars rover site. They're all powered by Plone. So that's my sort of claim to fame with NASA. But it also shows that everything is possible, from the fact that I dropped out of college, I dropped out of university, I don't have a degree, but I ended up funding and co-founding a technology that is actually used by NASA. Now, let's fast forward today, because that was sort of my personal little anecdote about the connection. But now we have 2018, and it seems now that is up to you and me, because the old times where governments pulled together and there was this huge big vision and everybody was pulling the resources, it seems like that part has now been left to us, to entrepreneurial minded people. And Bezos and Musk and those guys are pretty much have taken over the role of bringing us back into space and thinking about larger things than just ourselves and our petty little problems. And they're basically now the inspiration, whereas it used to be the governments. And also they're the ones who are actually building the technology. And also fast forwarding today, it has never ever been easier and cheaper to build important things that can end up having massive consequences with physical or digital technology today. You can have a huge impact with almost no resources having to spend. I mean, I don't have to remind you about what happened with Facebook and Twitter and so on and so forth. We don't just have to talk about digital. Think about printing. You can print metal. It's going faster and faster, and it's getting cheaper and cheaper. And also, if it's still not cheap, the access to capital has never ever been greater if you're doing something interesting. And what I'm doing here today is to, let's see where we have it. Oh yeah, there we go. So on the other hand, when we have all of these possibilities, right, we have this immense sort of vast catalog of things we can do and things we can spend our time on. And because everything is possible today, at least it seems so, I wanted to share with you, because you're here to build and hack for a whole weekend, I wanted to share with you 3 things that I knew, or I wish I knew known when I started out trying to sort of build interesting stuff in the world. So the first thing that, at least actually that's cheating. I knew it the whole time, but it was very daunting because I also had a mother who was instilling this in me the whole time. But also, let me be that person if you don't have that person in your life, and that is everything is possible. You know, if anybody says it's impossible, tell them, let me prove you wrong. You know, everything is possible. It just takes longer. The impossible just takes longer. It's true. And also, of course, Rome was not built on a weekend, right? So we're not going to be able to change the world just hacking along in a weekend, but it could be the start of making something that can actually make a difference, right? Now, everything is possible. If you don't have that person in your life telling you that, let me be that, or let my mother be that person that taught me that everything is possible. And because we are going to be building still for humans, so here's number 2 that I want to instill on you guys. Because we don't have general AI today, and probably won't have for at least a couple of days or years or a millennia, who knows, don't forget that whatever you do, it's for humans. Right? You're building something that humans need to interact with sooner or later, right? If you forget all of that and if you start building technology for technology's sakes, you can actually end up killing people, right? So please do go and talk to people, figure out how people are going to be interacting with this, figure out who are your customers, who are your users. Don't forget to build for the human. Now, the third and last, and I think also for me it was also the most important thing that I needed to learn, was that don't fall in love with your idea. Fall in love with the problem. Why? Well, 99.99999 up to almost 6 sigma %, your idea is not going to be what the world needs. So what do you do when the world tells you that your idea is crap? Well, you're probably going to have a nervous breakdown, or you're going to probably ignore them and continue anyways and figure out way too late, well, that didn't work. So what you need to do is fall in love with a problem. That is to say, you don't want to become the solution that is running around searching for a problem. And to help you do that, we have a lot of great work called, for instance, the lean startup methodologies, where you can use the more scientific method of testing hypotheses, building, measuring, learning, talking to customers, talking to your users, not forgetting the human in the loop, you know, getting out of the building, getting out. So I hope also this weekend that you actually go out and talk to people. Even you can Skype out, you can send emails to figure out which problems you should be solving and who would benefit and who are going to be using that solution, solving that problem. And with that, I think I have yapped enough. I think you guys are anxious to get hacking. And I wish you guys an incredible Space App Challenge 2018. And I dare you to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Thank you very much.
Good luck, guys.
We have to get you back to Norway soon.
Great.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Love to. That'll be good.
Okay, any questions from you guys? All right, so thank you very much for...
No questions, you're ready to roll. Great. Wish you good luck.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Bye. Excellent. So we'll have Stuart
Yes.
Kowalski, that professor of information security, talking to us.
Give me time.
Now, all right.
Thank you. Welcome. This activity is part of the Norwegian cyber range. First, I would like to thank all that helped out to get this going. Asari and Odessa and Marish. A lot of M's here. 3 M's. The 3 M's.
Elements.
And Maria, which is the 4th M.
Coincidence?
It's a coincidence. The Norwegian cyber range is something that we're building up here. It's an innovation project. So we're here to teach you, of course, but we're here to innovate. Is this loud enough?
Yeah, it's working. Yeah.
Now, one of the best ways to innovate is we want to connect you with the digital world and the real world, and we want you to have some serious fun. Fine?
Yeah, it's fine.
What do I mean by serious fun? This concept of range, some people get a bit confused. Range has to do with distance, but a range is a place where you have a shooting range. This is where you go and you test guns. For some people it's fun. I've been in the military, and since I have to clean the guns afterwards, it's not as much fun as you believe. I can still smell the oil all the time when I say that's a lot of work. Or you can practice sort of breaking down doors. I used to do that at ranges. Or in this one, restricted areas, you can practice blowing up stuff. That's actually more fun. Blowing up stuff. Or you can even play golf. You have a golfing range. Or you can have practice range when it comes to fires. Or you can have test range. So this is where you're testing a car, crash test dummies. You can also think of a climbing wall as a type of range. Why am I using the picture of a climbing wall? And for those that don't know, that's a picture. These pictures we borrowed from the Swedish defense, and this is pictures they used to talk about their cyber range. For those who don't know, we opened up the cyber range on the 4th of September. And the Prime Minister was here to open it up, so this is your tax dollars at work. What is the cyber range? The cyber range is the place where we can play with complex social technical functions. And what's happened in Norway is, you see us, we're not really playing here, we're sort of making business, but this is what researchers do. They talk and make slides and things like that. But what's happening in Norway is that in Norway we have many climbing walls. And if you look at the center we have here in Gjøvik, we have a very nice climbing wall and a pretty short pool. In terms of my experience, I mean, I'm going, why is the wall bigger than the pool? Because especially for me, because my friends keep asking me, trying to get me to climb, and I have a back problem. I should be swimming, but they want to sort of get me to climb a wall, and it's not great for my back. But the reason is that we are drowning in data. That's what's happening. We're getting tons of data. We don't have much information. We don't have much knowledge, and we have even less wisdom. But we got tons of data. Now, what we're going to do with this data? So the cyber range, what we're going to do is we're going to have fun in different ways. The cyber range has these 3 levels: the societal level, the digital value chain level, which is the business level, and then we have the cyber infrastructure level. And we build these different activities. For example, we just have someone that came back from a thinkathon where we actually got first place in this. We're arranging this hackathon now. We just got back from London where we were in a security challenge. We came in 12th. And we've been at this challenge here where we came in 5th. And we had some, and gamers are allowed. So if you're interested to go to Geneva instead of Gjøvik, they both begin with G too. I don't know, there's alliteration in our planning. We will be having tryouts for the team that goes, the digital border squad that will be going to Geneva, where you're going to learn how to use the right words so you get the money. Because you learn about words in this competition. It's amazing how words are important. So this is the cyber range. We have all these different activities going on. We will, hopefully in the future, we create a cyber range that you can come and play even online. You can try different things. We will be having the next challenge, if you want to practice learning how to hack instead of code, is we have an open challenge where we bring in the best you can try in penetration testing and vulnerability testing, etc. Last year we had 200 tryouts. We went through the trials, and then in the end we took 10 students or people under 26 to London to compete with all the European hackers. So there's many challenges. Here we are in Gjøvik now. I think it's quite interesting, as I said before. we are in the center of Scandinavia. You notice that we're the only ones here now. So gentlemen, you're representing Scandinavia now, okay? Oh, so this, what is the cyber range? This is where we wanted to have this is the room we have now. And basically right now, this is the situation room of the cyber range. I can take you downstairs, and if you want to look at a bunch of blinking diodes, that's the open stack you can look at. But the cyber range to others, it was this demonstration here. We had all these different display screens up, we had different applications running, we had different people presenting applications. But this is a game in terms of making attack and defense against national attack, cyber attacks that the Prime Minister was playing. If she gave us more money, she could last longer. That was basically the gist of the game. And it turns out we actually did get more money, so it worked. So that's another game, serious game here. We got more money. We got 6 million the other day. Right? And this is a hacking game. This is an ethical hacking lab that Basil, who will be here on Sunday, runs. So Basil, I'm the upper level, and Basil's the lower level in terms of this. How are we doing for time? I don't keep up. So we're here.
15 more minutes. 20.
All right. So what I do in terms of rhetorics, I teach rhetorics, and that's choosing the right word and communicating the right way to the right people. And that's what this business is about. As I said before, one is, of course, using the right word, and the other one is hearing the right word. So when you're talking to people and trying to understand their problems, you have to understand their problems using rhetorical skills. In many cases, we sort of see the world from our problem perspective. If someone uses a certain word, we have to use that. And what is the problem we're facing now? Now I've used the term drowning in data. Is that a good word to use to develop an app? Don't know. What does it do? It's a sense of feeling, whatever. This is a famous painting, and it's also a famous poem if you want to do it. It's called the Fall of Icarus. It's from the 15th century. How many people here have heard of the legend of Icarus? I know 1, 2. Can you explain what happened to Icarus and why?
Basically, it had wings made of wax, and when he flew too close to the sun, the wings started melting, and then it fell to his death.
That's what happened. Why did Icarus fall to his death? Why did Icarus fall to his death? Oh, you have any? You don't know? You can ask your father, because you know why? He didn't listen to his father. His father told him, don't go too close to the sun. You will fall. He said, that doesn't know what he's talking about. He's an old man. So that's what happened. Icarus fell, and that's what happens here now. The last time I wrote code, so you know, the last time I hacked was 1989. I wrote something in C. So this is an old man trying to explain to you that don't fly too close to the sun when you're writing code. What do I mean by that? Now, this picture is very famous in a sense, because what's it talking about in the poem? You see that this guy is just plowing away. This is Icarus. And this is the fall of Icarus, and all this painter is showing is the fact these 2 feet sticking out of the water. So that's a symbolic thing. All you're going to see about Icarus. It's not him. Most of the other ones show the picture of him with his wings, whatever. But here you just have the 2 feet. Here we have the farmer. And the farmer is looking up the sky. No one's really hearing the fact that he's doing this. And what are the farmers in Tulten doing? They're just plowing the fields. So we're drowning in data. We have these nice, beautiful ships going by. You think this ship's going to go save Icarus? No, I don't think so. We have these nice, beautiful ships. They're just going to sail on. And we're drowning in data. So another one, sorry. To be or not to be secure in cyberspace. What is this about? I used to work as a product manager in Ericsson. I was someone who actually helped in 2002 secure these phones. Now my problem is that I had all these great developers in Ericsson. I had all these great developers in Japan, because the mobile phone was actually designed for a 14-year-old Japanese teenager. I know this for a fact. It was J-phone we were doing it. Believe it or not, we used to have 40% of the handset market. That's the other one. I guess people wouldn't believe that now. I mean, how many people, 2002, how old were you in 2002?
It was 7.
7, yeah. So when we're designing these things, we're making these decisions. We have to decide how these things were. How much security should we put in? I have to sort of convince the people to put security in, right? And the only security we got in was something called the SIM lock function. Now the SIM lock function is a function that locks the phone to the platform and to the operator. I think it's still, we have SIM lock functions in Norway? No? Can you buy a phone from Telenor and then use it on Telia networks? No. And that's because, well, see, the function's still working. But not really, because what happened is that when I was designing it, my goal was to make sure that the Russian hackers, at the time in 2002, this is I can give, 50% of the phones used in Moscow streets were stolen phones from Western Europe. So what they used to do, they used to have these subsidies when you buy the phone. Someone would buy it and then ship it out to Russia, because they'd have to pay for the phone. Because this phone was subsidized by at least 50% to 60% subsidized the price. So I was trying to build in this function. I could make these phones very secure, and I did make, in some cases, my phone secure, is more secure than Nokia. I knew that. And how did we know that? We know that the hackers in Moscow are going to break our codes, but it's how long it takes them to break. Whether it's 6 months, a year, 2 years. But the interesting thing, when they did break the security of my SIM lock function, it was not in the security code. It was in another function. I just give an example because I won't say what it was. It was in the calculator. Somebody decides to put a calculator into this. They write the app for the calculator. The calculator is written insecurely. Someone figures out by putting in 9999 and dividing by 3, the calculator collapses, and then all of a sudden you have root control, as an example. Because the guy said, who's going to try and hack a calculator? But there are people that can make a lot of money at hacking. So basically the situation is this. Imagine these guys here, they were the Wright brothers. And they on the plains of the Kitty Hawk. So we have space here. We're talking about space. We're drowning in cyberspace. We need a new narrative. We need a new narrative in cyberspace. Now this is Hamlet, and I won't get into reciting to be or not to be, that is the question. Suffering the slings of arrows of outrageous data. I know you're not interested in Shakespeare. But it's fun. But imagine these guys. What type of skills did these guys have? Who were they? Does anybody know?
Bike repair.
Bike repairmen. And they were trying to learn how to build planes to fly, right? And why were the bike repairmen doing this? Of course, because they were thinking of using human power, etc. But they were trying to do this, right? Now, what's distinguished between the bikes of those days and the bikes today? What's the difference? Have you ever picked up a military bicycle? Has anybody ever been in the military? Have you ever used a military bicycle?
No.
How much does a military bicycle weigh? More than a Boeing 707. These things are so heavy.
But they never break.
They never break, no. They're never used either, but
There might be a correlation there.
but it's very heavy stuff, right? So these guys were trying to make this as light as possible. So imagine my job over the last, I was working as Ericsson, the product manager, 2002 to 2009. So for 7 years, I was trying to sell parachutes to the Wright brothers. I was trying to convince the hackers, the people doing this stuff, that hey, you should be interested in a parachute. When you're designing this code, I know you want to make it as fast as possible, as beautiful as possible. You want to win the prize to go to NASA, see the Space Center or whatever. But you also have to think about, once you get the thing running, how we're going to secure this. I know it's a pain to think about this. These guys here are going, what, Kowalski, get away here. I didn't wear bowler hats though when I was walking around. I used to, actually, if you see me, now and then I wear a cowboy hat, a white hat and a black hat, or a tie. And that's what's going on here now. For this presentation, we called in one of my friends, Matt Bishop, and hopefully if some of you take a security course, you'll be reading his textbook. How much time do we have before we start? 15 minutes?
Another 7 minutes, maybe 10 minutes.
And Matt and I have been working back and forth together for about 30 years. He's more of a programmer, I'm more of a high-level specification man. And we still can't figure out how to specify security and how to teach people to do secure coding. Is there any difference between code that's efficient and codes that's secure? Now, it was interesting with the Vidar when he was talking beforehand, because that's one of the things, falling in love with the problem. I guess we in security, we often come across as someone who's fallen in love with the problem. We seem to focus too much on security. And the idea behind these hackathons is we want you to have fun, we want you to code, and just in the back of your mind, we want you to think, okay, how is the security on this? What happens if this doesn't work? Now, we have a famous case now, and I would love to do this. We should do this now. I used to teach Fortran. How many people anybody here ever programmed in Fortran? 1, 2. I loved it. And the thing, believe it or not, the thing I loved it really, when I had to program in C, I learned to program in Fortran, COBOL, and APL. And we used cards back then, right? The APL, of course, we had a terminal. But believe it or not, we did not have lower and upper cases. We all programmed in uppercase.
Shouting.
No. And it really got me when I had to go to C. And I remember once spending a whole day trying to debug because I couldn't distinguish between a small capital L and a small l. Because we used to have these things called ASCII terminals. I don't know if you've ever seen an ASCII terminal, that little green dot. And the L's, it's actually only 1 pixel, it's only two things different. So it's so easy to make a mistake in that and to run these things. And what's the amazing part about it, we would check our code before we sent it out, because my Fortran code, when I started out in 1970, what's the first time I wrote? 76. It would take at least 12 hours to get it back from the Central University computer. 12 hours. We'd punch the cards. We'd have to line up for first you have to line up for the punch card thing, then you have to line up to feed it in, and then you have to wait to get the program back. Now, what that did with us, I'm not saying we're better. You don't want to go back to those times, believe me. It's just that we're very careful before we submitted things. And now what you do, you try something, and if it works, you go, okay, it's good. And you try something else, okay, it works. You try another thing, okay, it works. And then of course, I put all these 3 things together and I go, oh, it doesn't work. And I don't want you to take you back to that. I just want you to keep in the back of your mind that it can take 12 hours to compile, etc. We want you to have fun. Matt will be talking about these secure coding a bit. This year we're not going to do it. What we have is that we have these secure coding exercises, labs, etc. And in the future, the next year, if you in this hackathon, you could try and do some of these exercises. But this year we weren't able to put everything. Right now we just code the way you know. Look on the problem you want, figure out what's fun, have fun doing this. But and think about the parachute. I say don't forget the parachute, just think about the parachutes. And we will train you if you want later on. You have opportunities to try and learn about coding and why you should code differently, but we won't do that during this weekend. Matt has a thing called a secure coding workshop. We could have done that. Is that Matt?
Probably not.
So, again, have fun, have some serious fun. Please solve the problems of the world. As I say, you are my pension plan. What I'm scared about in the future is that I said it. I don't think your generation, my generation, when it comes to heart attacks, you know how my father died of cancer from smoking. I've had uncles that died of other things because of the way they drank, etc. I think on my death certificate, there's an 80% chance that it's going to be written on died of blue screen. So please, gentlemen, think about this. Have fun. And make sure that in the future, maybe your generation, but at least my generation doesn't die of blue screen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me see if Matt is around.
So Matt actually worked at NASA for a while. I don't know if he's going to say.
Okay.
He is here. He's been here. He wrote the textbook on computer security. The textbook. I think you studied it.
Okay, so we agreed that he will talk a few minutes later, so I don't want to call him kind of in the middle something.
So, should we do, while we're waiting for him, we should do the introduction.
Yeah, we can use the time to introduce ourselves. So,
Stand up, say your name.
yeah.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be big. So my name is Nathaniel. I'm just going to be helping out with whatever Mario asks me to help out with.
It's a good job.
Great.
Let's say you took him to Geneva. Can you say anything about Geneva and the Cyber 912 challenge?
It was a hectic few days, very little sleep, but it was pretty fun.
Unfortunately, we put him into the wrong hotel, but we'll talk about that later. You gotta watch out for Airbnb in Geneva.
Great.
Yeah, okay.
I'm Henrik Treningen. Yeah, I'm at my last year in bachelor program. Yep, that's me.
Great.
Stian, also doing programming.
I'm Kjetil, I'm also in the programming my last year. Jörgen, I'm also.
Me too.
That's not the meet.
Me also.
You want to go to space, right?
Hashtag me also.
I'm Brede, I'm also in the programming last year.
Great.
I'm Johan, I'm also in the last year programming.
Nathaniel is also with us.
Yeah. Great.
So, yeah, 3-1.
Yeah. Hi, Matt.
Hi!
How's the weather in San Diego?
It's definitely winter. It's going down to 80 to 70 degrees.
Oh.
All right.
I feel sorry for you.
Okay, great. We were just running around with the introductions, so we have 3 more people. So you can watch the rest of the crew. Yes.
I recently joined the PhD program in biomechanics.
Yeah.
I'm Nasser. I also recently joined the PhD program in information security.
And this is going to be the third space challenge, or what? How many space challenges?
This is my
Fourth
Fourth.
space challenge.
Yeah.
3rd time. I'm Mazara. I'm also PhD student in information security.
Yeah. Great. Thank you very much. So thank you, Matt, for coming. I will. I set up the camera so you see the audience as well. And yeah.
And Matt should know he's being streamed.
Yeah, is it okay if we're streaming you?
I'm sorry?
Is it okay if we're streaming this?
Yeah?
It's
Right.
recorded on YouTube
Yeah,
too.
thank you.
Oh, boy.
All right, the floor is yours.
Okay. The hackathon that you're involved in is a wonderful opportunity to use software to improve our knowledge of state of the universe and indeed of science in general. It's interesting because society in the world really depends upon computing. In the past, if computers broke, people would basically say, okay, and go back to paper. Now, much of the world no longer uses paper. Banks, for example, use electronic transfers now, interbank transfers. And if something goes wrong, there are all sorts of problems to deal with. Now, the software that runs all of this infrastructure is absolutely critical. For example, the water and power grids that exist in most countries are completely automated. And they are connected to the internet so people can manage them. And hopefully the firewalls and other protections that are in place are sufficient to protect the country or the grid. And the difficulty with this is, as countries become more attuned to cyber, to the use of computers, they also will, cyber warfare is going to increase. So far, we've only seen small parts of it. Estonia in particular has been hit several times. But there are groups that within various countries that are working to take advantage of problems with software and with management to allow them to corrupt or take over other groups' power grids. Now, bad programming in general causes problems. There are two classic examples of this. The first one was where someone misplaced a comma in a particular programming language. The result was what was supposed to be an iterative loop was read as an assignment, and the rocket that it was controlling went up and then came right down in the ocean. That was a programming error. Something similar happened about 5 or 6 years ago when one of the Mars missions was underway. The problem was that NASA uses kilometers and metric units in all of the work that it does. But the contractor used miles. And the two didn't realize the difference until they gave an instruction for a certain speed in kilometers per hour that the software read as miles per hour, resulting in the rocket and the Mars probe crashing. And while that may not seem to be a programming error, it certainly is a developmental error where two parties working on the same software did not communicate adequately. So those were just errors that occurred because people didn't check things thoroughly. There have been worse. The canonical example of that is what's known as Therac 25. It was a radiation system used to treat cancer. In one of the versions of it, there was a problem with the software which did not adequately check the inputs. The reason was, as I understand it, there was some question about the hardware interlock, which was supposed to protect against overdoses. For whatever reason, the hardware interlock either didn't work or wasn't there. I'm not sure which. And the result was a couple of people died before the problem was found and fixed. So good programming is really critical for human life as well as for many, many other things. In terms of financial and other programming problems, there are two that I wanted to mention. The first one was a programming error in the design of a major, actually an international bank's ATMs. It turned out that the ATMs were not properly configured, and configuration is a large part of software development. The result was that a worm was able to get into the ATMs and take them down. And so the bank basically had no ATMs for about a day while they fixed the problem. A similar example happened just recently with the loss of, I believe it was about $80 million. There's a international banking network known as SWIFT, and it's used for interbank transfers. What happened was that one of the routers that connected to SWIFT, connected to a particular bank's system that used SWIFT, the software was written badly. And what software like that should do is force people to put in a password and not use a default password, particularly when you're dealing with this kind of money. But software didn't do that. It used the standard password. And the bank did not change it. And as a result, the attackers were able to get into the network and do a $1 billion interbank transfer that looked perfectly legitimate. The transfer proceeded until the United States Federal Reserve System, which this bank was dealing with, noticed that the transfer was not going to another bank, it was going to a company. So they blocked the transfer and contacted the bank. Another bank, which was money was being routed through, noticed that their name was misspelled, so they blocked the transfer and contacted the bank. Turned out the bank knew nothing about it. $80 million was lost because of that. The third aspect of this is our society, democracy, and the ability to vote. I've been working with electronic voting machines since about 2003. Calling the software that I've seen bad is being far too kind. It is horribly written, and it had all sorts of problems. A colleague of mine said that if he had seen software like that in his beginning programming class, he would have failed the author. But these machines are used throughout many countries in the world to determine the future of the country, how people will vote, rather. It counts votes, and the results determine the results of the elections. There have been a number of cases where programming errors have caused problems. One of the more interesting ones was when a programming error, the program wrote out to a database. And if a certain field in a certain district, the district number was 0. And as a result, when the data was written to the database correctly, but when it was printed and aggregated, the counting started with area 1, not area 0. So all those votes were not counted. It finally got caught when a manual audit did a review and noticed that these votes were not counted. So again, there was a fail-safe built-in auditing. But that was a clear software bug that could have corrupted, in fact, it did corrupt certain elections. The other one that's my favorite is, in one place, a voting machine reported that there were 177,000 ballots cast. There were actually 14,000 people. And because of a software error, for some reason, many votes were counted, many votes appeared, and ballots appeared twice. So the bottom line is, good software is important. Now, it's common belief that if you write something for yourself, you can just get it out quickly and no one's ever going to see it. From personal experience, I know this is wrong. When I was a grad student, I worked on a text editor and I wrote a hashing function that was really bad. It basically just added up letters and numbers, characters, and then used that to go into a hash table. I figured, okay, I want to get this done quickly. No one's ever going to use this, so I wrote it. 5 years later, I found it in 2 other programs that were very widely distributed. So, again, be careful what you write. It may come back to haunt you. For whatever it's worth, there are certain principles of what's called robust programming, which is basically programs that work as they're supposed to, and when something goes wrong, will act intelligently. First one is can't happen. Sure, you've all written programs where a variable is going to take on 3 values. one of three values. And so you check those three values to determine what you do. Always make sure you have a default case in there. When you change the program, you'll know to do that, to add the extra variable in the code. Someone else changes the program, they may miss that. Things like that, again, have happened quite amusingly. Another one is what I call stupidity. It's a little bit cruel, but the idea is never assume that the user knows what they're doing. If they do something that's obviously wrong or that will cause a problem, lock them and flag it. Or say something to the effect of, "Are you sure?" But you have to be careful of that too because of what's called click-through. If you put up 20 warnings, people will just get in the habit of saying, "Yes, I'm sure." And sometimes that gets through. And this brings up another very important point. When you're writing software, think about the people, because the people are going to be the ones who use it. Also, don't assume that information you're getting is reliable if you're getting it from untrusted sources. And finally, be very careful with information hiding. You want to protect data that you're using to make sure that it can't be changed unexpectedly. So interfaces here also are very important. So basically, think defensively. That's probably the best way to do it. And remember that the software you're writing now may turn into software that gets used and gets used widely. So be proud of it and write as best you can. And with luck, this will help change, if not the world, a small part of it. Think globally, but act locally. That's really the best one to do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any questions for
And have
Matt?
fun.
So what was it like? Did you work at NASA?
Yeah, I worked at the Research Institute for Advanced Computer Science, which was a contractor to NASA. So I spent 3 years at NASA Ames Research Center. And I worked on the supercomputing facility there. They were just setting it up at the time. So I have a soft spot in my heart for the hackathon y'all are in.
Right. Do you feel some programming languages are more safer than others when the software is being produced?
Well, ideally, you'd like one that's strongly type checked and that has certain security properties built in. Unfortunately, the way of the world is that an awful lot of infrastructure is written using C and C++. And those languages do not, well, C++ is getting better, but C has very little safety built into it. So the language can help you, but really what language you use depends a lot on what you're doing. And also, I've seen incredibly creative ways to get around security checks in programs. So you have to work with the language. Functional languages are fun.
Yep.
In terms of this challenge, what's the biggest problem you want NASA to solve for us?
Oh my.
Well, we have this one about trying to find intelligent lives in space. You know that one?
The SETI, yes, SETI and SETI at home.
Should we try and find intelligence in Washington?
I believe that would be a completely fruitless and impossible task.
Sorry.
One thing that would be good though is something that would either document or help translate the different data formats of the data into something that can be used across multiple programs. One interesting thing is that a lot of data that NASA has from the 60s has been lost. And the reason is not because the data disappeared. The reason is because the translators, the formats in which it was stored are no longer known. So people are trying to rediscover that to recover the data. But I hope you have better luck finding intelligent life somewhere in the universe. I forget who it was, but someone once said that it's absolutely certain to exist. The proof of it is that they haven't tried to contact us yet.
Yeah. Any questions?
Actually, I'd like to flip that around. Any answers?
42.
I'm glad someone remembers that. Maybe the ones in the class that didn't explain it.
Yeah.
I think that everyone knows what he's referring to.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Great. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much, Matt. Have a
Good
good.
luck and have fun.
Thank you. Bye bye.
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 All right. Now we get
All right. So the final part of the opening is the welcome from the actual International Space Station, which we have here. So let's go ahead with this.
Greetings from the International Space Station. I'm NASA astronaut Drew Feustel, orbiting aboard this magnificent laboratory 250 miles above the Earth. Welcome to the 2018 International SpaceApps Challenge. Our orbiting home, the International Space Station, has something important in common with SpaceApps, all around teamwork and collaboration. On the ISS, astronauts from a diverse range of backgrounds are operating experiments and maintaining the station, and we have been doing this continuously for almost 18 years. We accomplish so much more working together than any one of us could alone. The same idea applies to SpaceApps. This weekend, please connect with participants all around the globe as you create solutions to the world's greatest challenges. Find solutions that could very well assist astronauts on our future exploration of the moon and deep space. Best of luck, SpaceApps 2018, and don't forget to use hashtag SpaceApps to share your story.
He's showing off.
There's a Norwegian flag in the corner. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, great. So with this nice accent, I will conclude that the Hackathon Space App Challenge is opened. And
Forming teams.
that's right. So now those of you who don't have formed teams yet, you should do that. Some of you already paired up and arranged that information. You should register your team with the portal and also register which challenge you will be working on in the portal. We would like that to conclude today. So if you have it done by 9 o'clock tonight, that would be great. And then we can spend the last hour of today, planning and brainstorming. We have now a bit of time before you commit to teams to chat and explore which challenges you want to tackle, and we will have some light news which Maria was working on.
Does anybody here have anything to say about what they want to do yet? Have you decided already? Anybody? You seem afraid. You guys you've decided.
Me too. Actually,
Yeah.
decided.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
You played?
So it's the camel one. Yeah. So the challenge was to create an app, preferably that
Mhm.
works offline, which you can plan ahead for disasters, basically.
Okay.
So,
Have a custom checklist, for example, with help and plans for different kind of disasters. So
maybe
like stuff that how to get water or remember food, and also more like the size specific things, like if it's a typhoon, you probably should board up your windows.
and also if it's possible, maybe have you can set safe spots,
Yeah.
deciding
For
where
the
you are.
family to meet or
Yeah. So
people to meet.
yeah. So if you're in Trondheim, you can maybe see where the nearest safe spots you have decided are. Yeah.
Okay.
And create custom checklist.
I'm a bit old. Can you repeat your names again?
Henrik.
Henrik and
Stian.
Stian. Henrik and Stian. Anybody here would like to ask some questions about that now?
Is it like just for the individual, or do you want the apps to talk somehow offline with each other?
I
In
think it's
peer-to-peer fashion or?
individual. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe you can have some kind of platform to share a checklist.
Mm-hmm.
So before disasters strike,
Yeah.
you can like browse maybe
Yeah.
that like down the road.
Some repository of the
Yeah. So
some
you can
recipes
yeah.
for good disasters. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can vote on stuff and maybe.
Has anybody seen the web page that we have at the university for this? What to do in case of emergency? We have one.
Oh, never seen it.
So we have, that's good to. What was the app that you did? Did you ship? The last year, what did you do last year? Remember last time you went?
Yes, last time I created like it's called block, glacial lake outburst flood. So
What?
glacial lake outburst flood detection. Okay, so what happened is that due to global warming, the glaciers are melting. So due to melting glaciers, sometimes they burst and they release a big flood.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very common problem in like Pakistan and other regions like in like there where there are like big glaciers.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did was like we used satellite data and like compare the satellite data with the previous images, and
Mhm.
we like identified some like cracks in glaciers. With respect, we also use like the seismic data from the different seismic sensors present in the area. So we correlate that satellite data with those seismic sensors to get like information about a glacial lake outburst. So we can send an SMS to the nearest population center that there is an outburst coming. So please leave that area as soon as possible.
Okay.
So this was the last time.
Yeah, very nice.
There seems to be quite a similarity between what you're thinking to what you have done, is that correct? Or no?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, absolutely.
Just an early warning.
Yeah.
This year we are like planning to do something like with AI because we are like from information security we like do some different things. So
Mhm.
we will like there was a channel called Artify Earth, so we will like try to artify the earth with some AI things.
Okay.
So the idea basically is to use deep learning to colorize black and white images.
Mm-hmm.
So NASA sensors capture a lot of black and white images from Mars and other places.
Mm-hmm.
So to do automatic colorization of those images.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe if we have time to transform the data from image to say height map.
Okay. Sounds good.
They have to do a web page?
Yeah, the teams have to register and they have to set up a team web page on the portal for the teams.
Yes.
So we would like that to happen tonight before 9, if possible. So I guess we close now and we go and do some food and chatting, and then you know where the toilets are. All of you are from campus. You have access to the building, right? So the toilets are downstairs. The working rooms, you can work in this room. You can work in A255. The A255 is booked for the weekend as well. It's a nice room with the power sockets and monitors, so you can do that. You need to have your own cables though, and network cable as well. The Wi-Fi is not great. You can use the meeting rooms upstairs, and you can use the cyber edge room downstairs as well. We were thinking you can work there too. The food will be served in Ocean, which is just outside here, and we will have the meals tomorrow there too. The closing today is around 10 o'clock, but you know, if you want to sit and continue working a little bit longer, that's fine. I just go home. And then tomorrow morning we will start at 9 with the breakfast. So you can come earlier too, but those of you who want to enjoy the breakfast, we will start at 9 o'clock.
Where do we meet tomorrow? Here?
Yeah, we will meet here. Actually, we will meet in Ocean at 9 o'clock.
The what room?
Ocean, just outside.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you. I will be going back to Sweden tomorrow and leave at 8 in the morning. So you won't see me again but I will be watching, and if it's streamed, I'll watch it on the stream.
Yeah, we will stream.
And good luck.
bits and pieces of it. Yes.
And the judges are good. We have judges. We should mention the judges.
That's correct. So if I go to the
One is a.
yep.
Present the judges. We have the slide package right now.
Yes, I mean, we don't have the slide yet. The slides are coming.
He sent it to you.
Yeah,
Oh.
but I haven't loaded it. I have the names here.
Okay, so I guess maybe you might have a status meeting sometime tomorrow, just to see how things are going, to share common problems.
Yeah,
Although it's not really a competition, so I think what we should do is maybe tomorrow plan a meeting. You'll come and say how's things going.
sure. Yeah,
You guys can sort of share what you've done so far.
yeah,
Does that make sense?
definitely.
And then we
I
can
will,
present the judges then.
I will put it into the schedule, so
Yeah.
we can do that before lunch maybe.
What time do you think is appropriate? Before 11?
Yeah, before lunch, so maybe 12.
Okay.
Yeah,
So at 12 we meet again. You guys meet again here,
yeah,
and then we present the judges.
yep.
Maybe criteria.
Go around about the progress, questions, ideas. Yeah,
So web page by 9. It's just filling out a form, right? It's frames, right?
yeah.
It's not really programming. This is.
Yeah, I think you can see which teams are registered to Gjøvik.
You just have to refresh.
Yeah, if you refresh to it.
Yeah, because
The teams
Because
should be
the
listed.
teams should show up on the bottom. Yeah.
Excellent.
okay, everybody seeing now? So we see now we have.
Looks good.
Looks good.
Fantastic. So you're on track.
Now, okay, so yeah, an interesting point here is very good. Yeah, thank you for this. The pictures, good stuff. Great stuff. Right?
Okay.
Good. Go out and let the hacking begin.
Correct.
Remember the link to the site where we have the disaster site for the school?
Yeah, just go to Insida now.
Yeah.
Go to Insida. And there's actually one that UUNet has, is another one, but Trollhättan decided to do their own. Can you go to Insida? No?
I'm here.
Okay, we're not on the screen.
Yeah, but I will go to the screen once I find it. Where is it?
Okay. Actually, you should go back to the beginning so you see it from the beginning. When you go to Insida,
So if you go here, it's the last button.
Emergency?
Yes.
emergency, everyone could from
I never dared to press it. I was afraid something went off.
Anyhow, yeah.
Emergency phone and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I was there akutt.
Yeah.
Og det sikkert sånn ansatt-ting da.
I don't know. It's sort of funny. Why
That's-
you guys are quite funny? We're on this. They have this. The Norwegians have this too, and it's around the world. They have something called. Can you read it? Queerman's kyrka. So in cases of emergency. See what?
So I don't think that page exists for everyone. I think it's just
For staff. Yeah.
Yeah,
This is
because
just staff.
I got that link after I got
Because
like
it says your employment.
Okay,
All
right.
employees.
How about if you go to UUNet now?
Yeah.
but you could try to just type in the URL. Should maybe work.
The university UUNet point out the emergency. I think it's wrong. If you Google UUNet emergency. UUNet, you know that one?
Har du det?
But we had those four that have the teams. They have teams.
Huh?
UUNet emergency.
Oh, yeah.
Er det en ting?
UUNet is the number one spam.
Det gjør det? Akutt-regel. So
It's fine.
It's available.
That's fine. We can work with it.
you can access it if you just type in the URL. It's open, but it's not linked.
It's very. It's good to know in case of emergency. You just have to remember. You're supposed to. Actually, it took me a while. I still don't have it now. What's fire again? What number did I phone for fire?
So I always remember BPA for brann, politi, ambulanse. So then it's incremental. So it's 110 B, 112 police, and 113 ambulance. So BPA. Yeah.
Okay, we don't. You remember that now, yeah?
But I should add, like 15 years ago, every cell phone provider in Norway started just rerouting 911 to the police phone.
Yeah.
So it's not standardized, but you can maybe always like call 911. You should end up at one of them.
But the ones that have it up, do they have the teams or?
Yeah, those are
Det
things.
internasjonalt så er det sånn at hvis du på norsk sim
Now,
i utlandet
whatever you want. What is it?
blir redirektet til utenlandsk politi.
Ja, det er sånn.
Four things. Yeah, that's all.
Så jeg vet at 911 på norsk SIM-kort i Norge havner hos politiet.
Yeah,
Men det er for- hvis du har norsk sim-kort, så vil det alltid bli på våre
Ja. Men også igjen da, i Norge så er det ikke standardisert. Men alle de store i hvert fall tellende der vil at de hjelper til politi.
I know. And that's what I mean. You don't see the face. You always have to do until the 18th. And then you have this one too. I promise. So someone's walking around.
Men det havner masse sånne der morsomme linker på innsida etter at det ble det. Jeg kan reiseregning. Jeg kan få NTNU til å betale resten.